The film opens with Victor and Darcy, two notorious Mafia enforcers, receiving an urgent call that sends them racing to their boss Alphonse's residence. Upon arrival, they discover the lifeless body of their associate Polly, chillingly concealed in a freezer, left there without anyone's knowledge. Alphonse soon appears, furious with his henchmen for failing to activate the house alarm, despite their insistence that it was indeed set. In Polly's clenched hand lies a cryptic note, while a fragment of a photograph is lodged in his mouth, part of a larger image depicting a man and his family, which Alphonse recognizes as a message from someone targeting him. Alphonse notices a distinctive numeral 7 written on the back of the photo and realizes he has identified his adversary. Meanwhile, at the hideout of a rival gangster named Harry, his Jamaican crew lounges around until Alphonse and his men burst in, guns drawn, easily outnumbering them. In a nearby room, Harry is engaged in illicit activities when Alphonse and his crew storm in, causing Harry's associates to flee in panic. Infuriated by the intrusion, Harry expresses his outrage as Alphonse presents him with a photo of Polly. He reveals that for the past 3 months, he has been receiving threatening letters and images, indicating that someone is stalking him. Alphonse suspects that Polly had uncovered the identity of this tormentor but was silenced before he could share what he knew. Harry scoffs at Alphonse's predicament, taunting him about his numerous enemies, which earns him a swift punch to the jaw. The tension between Alphonse and Harry stems from a financial dispute 3 months prior, leading Alphonse to suspect that this encounter is no mere coincidence. Showing Harry the puzzling photograph, Alphonse finds that Harry is clueless about the situation. Sensing that Alphonse intends to eliminate him, Harry asserts that only their true boss can authorize such an action. Acknowledging the truth in Harry's words but unwilling to back down, Alphonse shoots him dead, igniting a fierce shootout between the rival factions outside. In the chaos, Alphonse finds himself out of ammunition and cornered by 2 gangsters. Just as they close in on him, Victor, despite sustaining gunshot wounds, emerges from the vents and takes out the assailants just in time to save his boss. The survivors gradually regain their composure after the harrowing confrontation, and in a moment of unspoken acknowledgement, Alphonse silently pays tribute to Victor's bravery. We then shift our focus to Beatrice, who is emerging from surgery following a devastating accident that has left her with severe facial disfigurement. Unbeknownst to her, Beatrice lives next door to Victor, and during the quiet hours of the night, he catches glimpses of her watching him intently from her window. When she waves at him, Victor hesitates but eventually returns the gesture, feeling a mix of curiosity and uncertainty about her intentions. Beatrice resides with her mother, who encourages her to reach out to Victor, given her constant gaze in his direction. However, once alone in her room, Beatrice confronts the reality of her scarred reflection and succumbs to tears, grappling with her pain and isolation. A few days later, as Victor sorts through his mail, he discovers a letter from Beatrice containing her phone number. That evening, he musters the courage to call her, and they decide to meet on the balcony for a conversation. They exchange formal introductions and share a light-hearted moment with a Wi-Fi handshake, quote breaking the ice between them. Their connection deepens over dinner the following night, where Victor fabricates a story about working in real estate. Beatrice feels uneasy under the scrutiny of onlookers but finds herself drawn into conversation as Victor skillfully keeps her engaged. She opens up about the accident that transformed her life, yet Victor remains unfazed by her scars. Eager to share something significant, Beatrice suggests a drive, guiding him to a stop outside a particular house. With a heavy heart, she reveals her knowledge of Victor's darker past by showing him a video of his murder of Polly, leaving him in stunned silence. In a surprising twist, she vows to keep his secret, on one condition: she wants him to kill the man responsible for her accident, the drunk driver who shattered her world. When Victor hesitates, citing his reservations, Beatrice's fury erupts as she threatens to go to the authorities. Her emotions boil over, drawing unwanted attention as she raises her voice. In a moment of desperation, Victor brandishes his gun to silence her, but Beatrice seizes it, leading to an unintended gunshot that reverberates in the tense atmosphere. Panicked, Victor accelerates away, attempting to convince Beatrice of the perilous path she is treading. Undeterred, she screams at him before abruptly pulling the handbrake, sending their vehicle into a chaotic spin on the road. As she exits the car and heads home, she reminds him that she could have easily reported him to the police. Later, Victor meets with his father-in-law Gregor, who takes him to a shipping yard to introduce him to another man named Andras, hinting at deeper entanglements awaiting him. Victor is handed a modified Dragunov rifle, a tool for executing his carefully laid plans of vengeance. Soon after, it becomes clear that Gregor is aware of Victor's infiltration into Alphonse's circle, driven by a desire to avenge his murdered family. Gregor's concern grows as he questions Victor about his delay, fearing that the window for retribution may close before he seizes his opportunity. Later, we find Victor deeply engrossed in videos of his deceased wife and daughter, his expression a mask of anguish and determination. He then observes a group of Albanian gangsters discussing the whereabouts of the boss's elusive brother. This prompts Victor to drive to a secluded location, where he retrieves a bottle of water and a bag from his truck. He approaches a colossal abandoned ship and enters, where he finds the brother held captive. As Victor drinks water like a hamster, he dismisses the captive's warnings about the imminent arrival of his brother, Alir. Instead, he snaps several photos of the man before leaving him in tears. Subsequently, Victor visits Beatrice at her apartment, where he reveals his decision to accept the contract on the drunk driver named Alex. Beatrice provides him with Alex's nightly routine, highlighting that he frequents a local bar. She confesses that she never contemplated revenge until witnessing Victor's brutal execution of Polly. Curious about his methods, she asks how he did it, but Victor reminds her that he is not here by choice. Their conversation is interrupted by Beatrice's mother, who has taken a liking to Victor and eagerly shares photos of her daughter, hoping to spark a romantic connection. The following day, Darcy works diligently to determine the location from which one of Alphonse's photographs was taken. Using the angle of the shot, he identifies the building and specific floor. A resident living above reveals that he saw someone taking pictures. When Darcy shows him a photo of Polly, the man merely smiles in response. Meanwhile, Alphonse receives an irate call from Big Boss Lon, who berates him for the deaths of Harry and his Jamaican associates, demanding an immediate meeting at a local cafe. Unbeknownst to them, Victor has set up a network of wiretaps on all gang members, listening intently to their conversation. When Alphonse arrives at the cafe to meet Lon, he expresses his concerns about being targeted and shares his suspicions regarding Harry's betrayal, insisting that he only sought answers. Meanwhile, perched on a nearby rooftop, Victor meticulously prepares his rifle when he receives a call from Darcy, who reveals a startling discovery: Harry was not involved in the recent chaos, and he suspects that Alphonse may still be in grave danger. This revelation unnerves Victor, leaving him uncertain about his next course of action. Inside, Lon confronts Alphonse, presenting him with incriminating photographs and information from an anonymous source regarding Alphonse's illicit dealings. Lon has dismissed the Jamaicans as suspects after receiving a note earlier that morning, accompanied by a key tape. Recognizing that Alphonse is entangled in something far more dangerous than he anticipated, Lon demands that Alphonse organize his financial records and settle all debts owed to them. As Victor takes aim at Alphonse, Beatrice, who has been trailing him, spots his position. In a swift move, Victor eliminates the driver and opens fire on the remaining men. They quickly identify Victor's location and give chase, attempting to corner him within the building. Still undetected, Victor skillfully evades his colleagues. He creates a diversion, making it appear as though he escaped through a window. When one of the men investigates, he is ambushed and pushed to his death. Another man recognizes Victor just as he is shot dead, allowing Victor to make his escape using ropes. He flees on foot as the men pursue him, but fortune smiles upon him when Beatrice pulls up in her car. They make a quick turn around the block and park just as Darcy and another man come rushing onto the scene. Spotting Victor inside the vehicle, they mistakenly conclude that the real assailant must have slipped away. Alphonse soon arrives, and Darcy informs him that he spoke with an eyewitness who saw the person who took the photograph slip into a gypsy cab. Alphonse orders Darcy to track down this cab immediately. The men hastily clear the area while Victor ponders why Darcy would dig deeper into the organization's affairs. He warns Darcy not to push too hard, citing Polly as a cautionary example, but Darcy remains resolute in his quest for Alphonse's respect. Meanwhile, Alphonse and two enforcers locate the mailbox associated with the key obtained from Lon. Hesitant to open it for fear it might be rigged, they ultimately decide to proceed. To their astonishment, they discover a chilling recording of a child's laughter and two additional pieces of a photo puzzle hidden within. Later, Victor reaches out to Beatrice, puzzled by her decision to follow him. To his surprise, he learns that she has been trailing him for some time, hoping to uncover more about his life. She returns the bag he inadvertently left in her car, and he invites her inside. In a moment of vulnerability, Victor reveals his true identity: Laszlo Kerik, a Hungarian immigrant who moved to America with his wife in search of better opportunities. Their family resided in a building that Alfonso's gang sought to control, and tragedy struck when a stray bullet from an attack on their home took the life of his daughter. Although Victor and his wife were prepared to testify against the gang, Alfonso orchestrated a brutal hit, sending Albanian gangsters to eliminate his wife and leave him for dead. As Beatrice absorbs this harrowing story, she gives him a rabbit's foot as a token of good luck. Her perspective shifts, she no longer sees the value in involving the police, instead choosing to support Victor in his quest for vengeance. That night, Victor waits patiently for Alex to leave before breaking into his home. Meanwhile, Alfonso discovers the bug hidden in his phone, realizing he's been compromised. The following day, Victor makes his way to his gang's hideout, where he has rigged the entire location with explosives. Just as he prepares to execute his plan, Alfonso and his men arrive, forcing Victor to take refuge in the rafters. He deftly climbs down and attempts to escape through the bathrooms, only to find that the building is now equipped with a sophisticated security system. Later, Grader informs him that this new system will require him to trigger the bombs from within, emphasizing the danger of Victor's desire for revenge while expressing concern for his safety. When Beatrice visits, she stumbles upon Victor's weapons room and uncovers his military background. As she learns about his plan to lure both the Albanians and Alfonso to the warehouse for a catastrophic explosion, a sense of foreboding washes over her. She realizes he may be embarking on a one-way mission. Meanwhile, Alire receives an anonymous package containing a photo of his brother bound and pieces of an almost complete image. Victor overhears a conversation between Alfonso and his henchmen discussing a meeting with Lon at 9 o'clock. It becomes evident that Alfonso and Fonz are plotting to identify whoever tapped his phone. Just then, Darcy pays Victor a visit with news of the gypsy cab's whereabouts. They head to the location where the cab dropped Paul off, but as Victor contemplates leaving, Darcy spots a nearby cemetery and insists on investigating further. Victor receives an urgent alert and skillfully persuades Darcy to leave the area. He arrives at the designated meeting spot where Alfonso is supposed to meet Lon, only to find Alfonso already waiting for him. It becomes clear that Alfonso intentionally summoned Victor, aware that the real threat lies within his own crew, yet he remains oblivious to Victor's true intentions, having saved his life during the incident at Harry's. After this tense encounter, Victor decides to pay a visit to Alire's brother, convincing him that he is being held captive in Alfonso's warehouse. Together, they create a video message for Alire, allowing the brother to express his thoughts and fears. When Victor removes the blindfold from the man, recognition dawns on him, and he exclaims in disbelief that they thought Victor was dead. In a chilling turn of events, Victor releases a swarm of hungry rats nearby, which quickly descend upon the man, and he takes the opportunity to shoot the captive dead. Stepping outside to collect himself and regain focus on his mission, Victor receives a call from Darcy, who has arranged a meeting with the cemetery manager. He decides to join him after first meeting with Beatrice to hand over the video and instruct her to send it to Alire. At the cemetery, Darcy reveals that Polly took a cab there and asked about someone buried on the grounds. However, their search is delayed due to the vast number of graves. Meanwhile, Beatrice dresses up beautifully for their outing but encounters a group of bullies who push her, causing her to fall and injure herself, staining her dress with blood. When Victor arrives and sees her injury, she hands him the tracking number for the package she sent. As they head toward the elevators, Victor gathers the courage to ask her out on a proper date, and she happily agrees. The next day, Victor picks out a lovely new dress for Beatrice, but his plans take a turn when he receives a call from Darcy, who has somehow uncovered his true identity as Laszlo Carrick. Realizing that his quest for revenge is now at risk of exposure, Victor resolves to stay focused and sets aside the dress. That evening, Victor picks up Beatrice for their date, but instead of a romantic outing, he brings her to a bar frequented by Alex, revealing his intention to complete his mission. Beatrice feels conflicted, her feelings for Victor have deepened, but he heartbreakingly rejects her advances. As they leave the bar, they spot Alex stumbling out in a drunken haze. Seizing the moment, Victor ambushes Alex at his car and soon returns to Beatrice, assuring her that the job is done. That night, Darcy leads Alphonse to the cemetery, guiding him to Victor's daughter's grave. He believes that someone close to the family must have known about this site, as her father, Laszlo, should be dead. Fonz then points out a poignant detail: Delphine passed away on her birthday, which is tomorrow. Alphonse seizes the moment to call Alire, reminding him of their shared past and seeking confirmation about the fate of their associates. However, Alire cannot definitively say whether he witnessed Laszlo's death. As Alire and his men prepare for action, arming themselves with weapons, they receive a delivery from Victor. Meanwhile, Victor arrives at the gang's base, methodically setting up explosives before settling into wait. Time passes, and when no one appears at the warehouse, Victor comes to a disheartening realization: Beatrice never mailed the package. Tearfully, she confesses that she couldn't bear the thought of him dying and wanted to thwart any plans he had. In a parallel turn of events, Darcy arrives at Victor's apartment but finds it eerily quiet. Breaking in, he discovers the hidden room and uncovers the truth: Victor is indeed Laszlo. The sight of a completed family portrait deepens his realization. Just as Beatrice makes her way to Victor's apartment, she encounters Darcy, who seizes her firmly. His anger at Victor for deceiving him simmers beneath the surface, but Victor urges him to let it go. Darcy decides to take Beatrice to Alphonse, instructing Victor to come along. When they arrive at Alphonse's location, the tension escalates as the Albanians gather. Just as Alphonse completes a significant statement for his men, a sudden flurry of notifications erupts from their phones, signaling an unexpected turn of events. As the sound of engines grows louder, Victor's truck suddenly crashes through the house, sparking a fierce and chaotic gunfight. Without hesitation, Victor confronts the armed men inside, taking a hit from Fonz but managing to outmaneuver and kill him with precision. He then triggers explosives planted in his truck, eliminating the remaining attackers. Meanwhile, Alphonse and Alire escort Beatrice to their surveillance room, while Darcy goes off in search of Victor. Overcome with fear, Darcy eventually comes face to face with Victor, who holds him at gunpoint but ultimately chooses to let him live. Alire steps forward to confront Victor in a heated shootout, soon joined by Alphonse, who is driven by uncontrollable rage. Amid the chaos, neither of them notices that Beatrice has managed to slip out of the room. Alphonse only realizes her escape when he hears a video playing nearby. As Beatrice desperately hides, Alire finds her and coldly aims his gun at her. As Victor watches his brother's video, a surge of emotion overwhelms him, and he instinctively raises his gun toward Alphonse. Alphonse, sensing the tension, urgently warns him to lower it. In a tragic turn of fate, both men pull the trigger simultaneously, resulting in their untimely deaths. Meanwhile, Victor finds Beatrice amidst the chaos, and as they attempt to escape the devastated house, Darcy confronts them with a gun drawn. He questions Victor's motives, pondering whether he spared him out of concern for his wife and child. Victor, however, clarifies that it is not his family that matters but rather the bond they share. In a moment of understanding, both men lower their weapons, allowing Victor and Beatrice to leave. They board a train departing the city, finally free from their pasts, and share a long-awaited kiss that speaks of hope and new beginnings. Thank you for watching. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe for more recaps. Until next time, have a nice day.